things that I do in this area. My research can be defined as human-centered computing, as you see there. The things that we work on specifically as it relates to HCC would be accessible voting. We have a project on texting while driving. In the fall, you all will hear about that. That's going to be a big deal. Some things for seniors, electronic medical records, and ethno-computing, dealing with educational software that is culturally relevant. So what I'm dealing with here, in particular, what I'm going to talk about is our voting technology with respect to how it has benefits to society. And it deals with making voting accessible for everyone. And so usually when people see accessibility, you immediately think about people with disabilities, and that's true. But this project is even broader than that, and that's why it falls into this category. This has been a problem for forever. It's usually been separate but equal. If you have a disability, you go this way to vote. If you don't, you go this way to vote. That kind of thing. And the disabled community has been disenfranchised forever with respect to voting. So the question is posed, what did we do and how did we have a broader impact on this? We designed a technology called Prime 3, which allowed people to vote by touch and/or voice. And what we found was that by implementing this technology, and the motivation for this is probably not as obvious as most people think. It was sparked at a Richard Tapia conference in Atlanta, Georgia, where we heard someone talking about voting technologies, and the speaker said, you can't do electronic voting, it won't work, voting is not good, you can't do it, no, 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 no. So we were sitting there listening to this person be so negative about it, and we said, I was sitting there with my students, we said, we could do this. So we went back to the lab and we created Prime 3. So this technology allows people to vote if you can't see, if you can't hear, if you can't read, if you don't have arms, you don't have legs, if you're quadriplegic. All these individuals could vote privately and independently using the same technology as a person who has no disabilities. So it changed the landscape with respect to what can be done with respect to voting technologies. And how do we know it had a broader impact? Well, Congress called us. So it was interesting that Congress called and said, well, we heard you guys, and they had a congressional hearing. We were not there, and one of the speakers talked about our technology. So the next hearing, we got called up. NIST, the Election Assistance Commission, several other entities have found out about it, and it changed the whole discussion about what can be done and what should be done. So how do we connect our research and broader impact activities? We had expertise in speech technology and interface design, and so we used that expertise to create Prime 3, this interface. And so as a result of that, our lab motto is there. We build innovative solutions to real-world problems by integrating people, technology, information, and culture. So we use our expertise in those areas to come up with this unique interface. What's interesting, we had broadening participation in computing funding, thanks to NSF. And it was interesting that one of my lead developers on this project, he ran track at Auburn University, where I was at the time. And we had been working on the project for about a year. And then one day we were just sitting there talking, and he said, did you know I was colorblind? I had no idea. So we had blind students and others working on this, but he was colorblind. So that was a benefit to the creation of the interface, because we went out and we were dealing with over 1,000 or so people who tested this technology, and some of them were colorblind, and that was never part of our initial design. But it was embedded because the developer himself was colorblind. So it helped the project. What makes a broader impact activity good? This was a tough one. I think some of the measures and things that makes it good would be influence on policy. We've heard some of that already. Increasing workforce diversity, provide unique infrastructure, disseminate your findings beyond typical venues. We've been all over the nation talking about this. Different organizations, lobbying organizations as well, have seen our technology. It's an interesting tightrope to kind of walk with respect to research and policy and how to navigate that area and not being seen as a political person. I could talk about that for a long time. How do others get involved? I put there because I didn't really want to write this down. So We're in the process of applying for a $7 million grant from the Election Assistance Commission. And if we're successful, then a bunch of you already know who you are. We'll probably be involved in this project as well in the future. We want to go national in testing this and getting this out. And some of you we will be using for that as well. What would I tell young people? And this is an interesting debate. I would say we're trained to think research first. What if we were trained to think broader impact first? If the mission was broader impacts first, what would that have with respect to NSF and Congress and policy? Will we have more money? Think about it. Thank you.